And it's not long since the full-time whistle in England's second game in Pool A at the Women's Rugby World Cup. That's what I'm chatting about in this video. England against Samoa. Welcome back to the channel. Give me your views on the game down below and click off the video if you're looking to avoid the result. Because 3, 2, 1, England 92, Samoa 3. A record for England, a record scoreline at a Women's Rugby World Cup. As dominant, as comprehensive, as clinical, as we would have all expected it to be. I'll get on to Samoa, but the context of where that team is, a group of amateurs having to take time off work for 6 weeks or however long it might be to come over for this tournament. Important bit of context, but from an England point of view, ruthless, efficient, impressive. Everything that you would probably expect at this moment in time from this England team. I'll get on to some of the individual performances as well. It's so difficult, isn't it, with the Red Roses in so many matches because they're expected to win, they're expected to win well. We know, like this game, if England hadn't won this and hadn't won it comfortably, would have been one of the biggest sporting miracles in the history of sport ever. Like that's the kind of stakes that we're dealing with. So how do you start appraising and chatting about and reviewing and looking at England's game? I think the biggest credit and the biggest compliment and the biggest plus point from my perspective with that Red Roses performance was how consistent they were. They had the game wrapped up after 20 minutes. They scored 7 tries in the first half, had 40 plus points on the board, were completely away, and then they came out and scored another 7 tries in the second half. And their performance really didn't dip. And we could nitpick and talk about that Samoa scrum that demolished them, which led to Samoa's only points of the game with the penalty they kicked. There was the odd restart they didn't deal with quite as well. Yes, there were a line out or two that maybe weren't straight, but you are really nitpicking, I think, if you're critiquing that England performance. And the biggest credit that I can give them was their consistency. They kept their foot on the gas and they did not let up. And I think that's a total reflection of how focused this team is. They know the expectations on them. They know their own standards and what they're trying to achieve at the end of this home World Cup, trying to crown themselves world champions, what they have to do today in terms of the journey and the next step on that path. And they went out and they did it. 92-3, brutal, brutal scoreline, but one that we did probably expect. I was reading a preview of the game beforehand that I think if Samoa kept it to 60, that would be a really good result. We knew this was likely and England went out and delivered it. Who impressed you? If you're looking at England, and it goes back to the point I've just said that they're a difficult team to analyse because everyone played. I mean, you've just won 92-3. Everyone's done their job and everyone's played well. I've got a couple to pick out. I think you have to mention Jess Breach here. Her 50th, 51st and 52nd tries for England. A hat-trick on the day. It's only her 49th appearance for England. That is a ridiculous try-scoring record. And I know the Red Roses are so dominant, but nonetheless, that is incredibly impressive. I think I had a few comments on the channel, maybe just questioning her defensively, kind of after that game against the USA. I thought she was good again today, and you see why you do select her. Her finishing is top quality. So she was very good. And then the player of the match, Helena Rowland. Quite an important performance, I think, in many ways. Some questions over England in terms of 10, in terms of players available and injuries. Rowland herself only just returning for this game from an injury. So she adds, I think, important depth to the team, particularly at fly half. But in particular, I mean, she covers like the whole back line, doesn't she? Is she nailed on for the 23 shirt? When we get to the knockout games, the semi-final against Canada or the Black Ferns, and they get to a Twickenham final, Helena Rowland in that 23 shirt, just because of her versatility. I think there's probably a good chance of that. And I thought she kicked well today. She wasn't perfect from the tee, but she nailed a couple from the sidelines. I wonder whether Emma Singh might be the kicker because she is ever reliable, one of the best kickers from the tee in the PWR, if not the best. I wonder whether she would be. They went with Helena Rowland, and I thought she did a good job. So I think her return to the team is quite important, and her performance was a really good one as well. Anyone else who, I mean, I thought Meg Jones was excellent again. Marley Packer, as good an operator over the ball still at this point in her career as she has always been, as good as anyone in the world in the women's game. Lots of good performances across the England team. Anyone else that stands out for you? And I suppose the thing for the Red Roses is the question is always going to be, is there any team in this competition that is able to put sustained pressure on them, to put them under serious pressure and how are they going to react if that happens? Which is why, in a sense, I hope when we get to that match against whether it's Canada or France or the Black Ferns, whoever it is, when England do face those teams, I really hope they are asked serious questions of them. Because how they react will be fascinating, because they are just not being put under pressure in these games, and they're so rarely put under serious pressure. I think they will have the mettle and the gumption and the quality and the skill and all of that stuff to be able to answer. But that's why I want to see them pose those questions. Hopefully we'll get that later on. At the moment, obviously that's not going to be the case. But let's finish up with a word on Samoa, because the context of them as a team is so important in this game. I know it's 92-3. And I suppose people that aren't aware of that, or just kind of flicked on the game or watch the highlights and see the celebrations when they kick a penalty, when they're getting absolutely hammered, might not quite get it and think, what on earth's this about? A team of amateurs, they last played England in 2014. They missed out on the last World Cup because of COVID and just not having any fixtures and not having the opportunity to get there. What they have to do to be able to get themselves to this point. Great scenes when they kicked that penalty. Like, I can imagine it was a really heartwarming, kind of lovely moment. And they need more opportunities, don't they? And I know that there are some brutal scorelines in this Women's World Cup. There were on the opening weekend. There is again this weekend. There will be, certainly in the pool stages, maybe even the knockouts as well. But what's the alternative for the women's game? Having a World Cup that consists of England, Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, France. You have to include these teams. We want to see Brazil, we want to see Spain, we want to see Samoa, these teams given opportunities. I think the question then becomes, can they get more consistent opportunities against top sides, which is where WXV comes in. But if they're in WXV, they're never going to be playing the likes of England and Canada and New Zealand. So I think more opportunities for Samoa and for teams like that is something that is always worth emphasising when we get moments like this. Brilliant to see them, some lovely moments. They were never going to win the game. They need more opportunity to grow and hopefully get some professional contracts of their own. So, give me your views down below. What did you make of that England performance, individuals and also the team performance? Is anyone in this World Cup going to ask serious questions of them? And will they be able to answer them if they do? Let's hope we find out the answer to that question. If you've got this far in the video, I really appreciate you clicking on it. Hit that subscribe button. I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. Like the video as well. And I'll see you in the next one.